Okay. Means whenever you will say that why should we know? Always, it's not necessary that you are doing research, then only you need to know this. Even if you are reading paper, you should know whether the correct test has been performed or not. If you are doing research, of course, you should know it. But also, I don't agree so much that you should do everything in statistics yourself. Because ultimately, statisticians are there, they also have to survive. They are expert. And if we are doing it research or something which say once in 1 year, one research, then why should we do that? Why should we learn that much? But at least we should have basic concept so that we know how to interact with them. That is, say that probably with this I am just talking about that which test to be performed, because many times if you don't consider that in reputed journals, all those tests which has been performed is correct. If the correct test is not performed, it means it is whatever inference is drawn, that is also wrong. And that, since it's not included in talk because time was short, but otherwise those are many examples in that. Already means Jatendra Bali has made my things very clear, very simple. That hypothesis testing, null hypothesis means we consider both are equal. But there is one difference with what example that he gave in mathematics or any other, it has to be exactly equal. Here we cannot prove equal. Only thing that say what are the possibilities that if this value you are getting then to be equal, so that this is what the p-value. So we work only on p-value, but in mathematics we never work on p-value, because there it's not that because p-value is this, that's why 2 plus 2 is 4. So null hypothesis, an alternate hypothesis is which is the opposite of null hypothesis. Type 1 error, which is alpha error, wrongly rejecting null hypothesis, and type 2 error, which is beta error, failure to reject null hypothesis. Now types of data already explained, but just quickly, basically there are two types of data, qualitative or categorical and quantitative or numerical. The qualitative data can be nominal data, means or it can be ordinal data. The nominal data, the observations are assigned to descriptive categories according to the presence or absence of certain tributes or properties or qualities. As if say sex, male or female, dead or alive, color of hair, blood group, these are all qualitative. But this cannot be arranged in order. These ones, say blood group A, B, O, cannot be arranged in a particular order. But if the same categorical data you can arrange in a particular order, then it becomes ordinal data. Like pain, so it may be mild, moderate, severe and unbearable. So you can arrange in this order. But remember that difference is not the same, because this is not like continuous data. Means the difference between mild and moderate is not the same, maybe between moderate and severe and between moderate and unbearable. So that you have to keep in mind. So categorical data, which is qualitative, ordinal and nominal. Ordinal, which you can arrange in a particular order, either ascending or descending. The binary data, if there are only two values, then it becomes binary data, otherwise it becomes non-binary. Like blood group is non-binary, but sex, male and female, this is binary. The numerical data, these data can be either measured or counted. Like blood sugar is measured data, whereas number of children in a family becomes counted data. This I will bypass. Measured and counted, these are some of the examples. Also, the numerical data, there is a very important characteristics that one data set can have means the distribution, based on the distribution of numerical data set, it can either be normative data or non-normative. Normative is also known as parametric data, which follows this Gaussian curve. And if it is not following this Gaussian curve, then it becomes non-parametric data. Why it is important to know this? Because the different tests, statistical tests, are applied based on your type of data which you are getting for your measurement. The Gaussian curve is important, parametric data, because the distribution is so typical that it's a normal value that we get. Any, say blood sugar, the normal range is from 80 to 120. How it has been derived? It has been derived because after, say, taking normal population, taking measurements, and then distribution, mean, and then, so in that case, if you see plus minus, whatever is the mean, plus minus 1.96 standard deviation, means 95% of the population value will fall within this range. So normative database, that is the basis of normative database. It means in normal 95% this range will fall between this range. So what does it mean? Anything beyond that doesn't mean that has to be abnormal, but possibilities are only 5%. If anyone who is below this, means between this range, not necessarily that it's absolutely normal, it may be still abnormal, because this normative database has been formulated on that basis of plus minus 1.96. And the characteristic is that standard deviation following Gaussian curve, or any which is, or distribution free, there is no specific distribution, or if it is unknown distribution, that also should be considered as parametric, non-parametric. Now come to the basic question, which statistical test? It's very simple. If there are so many statistical tests, but then if you follow these 5 tables which I am showing, on that basis, almost more than 95% tests will be included. So only couple of tests will be left over. But don't try to mug up this table, because only try to understand the basis of this table. I will also distribute these charts, so don't try to, just try to understand. Now, based on 5 type of questions, you can have, I'll show you 5 tables. The first question is there a difference between the 2 groups which is unpaired? 2 or more independent samples drawn from the same population. Now what does this mean, this question? That I am comparing 2 groups which is unpaired. Now unpaired means from, say, suppose I want to study the effect of medicine A versus effect of medicine B on a population. Then I will select from the population group A, say suppose group A has 10, group B will have also 10. I will give group medicine A to group A, medicine B to group B. Okay? So these 2 groups are not common. These 2 are different, unpaired. The measurement of A will not affect the measurement on B. So these things are characteristics of this unpaired. So if this type of thing you are comparing, then this table will be applicable, if this question is there. Okay? Group may not be only 2, maybe more. So once you know that what type of question you are going to compare, find answer to, then this table will be applicable. Now the next question comes, whether your data set is numerical or categorical, that you know. So then you move to this side, if it is numerical. Then the next thing which I told you, that whether your data set which is numerical can be parametric, can be non-parametric. If it is parametric, then this test will be applicable. If it is non-parametric numerical, then this test. Now also, if it is, this is the question, numerical, parametric, if it is 2 group, then the unpaired t-test. If it is more than 2 groups, then ANOVA. Similarly in this, if it is numerical data, this question numerical, non-parametric, 2 groups, then Mann-Whitney test, more than 2 groups, Kruskal-Wallis test. Now, if there are more than 2 groups, and it's showing positive, then you should move to, then you can do post hoc analysis by these tests. You cannot compare, say there are A, B, C, 3 groups, compare A to B, compare B to C, and compare A to C, and then say that this is positive. It is wrong analysis. That is very clear? Okay, this is unpaired t-test. If it is categorical data, 2 groups, chi-square test or Fisher test. If it is more than 2 groups, chi-square test. Okay, if this table you have understood, second table is very simple. If you really want to do that, if it satisfies your statistical test or parametric test, then you do parametric data, then you parametric. But one thing is, I want to make it clear, for non-parametric data, if you are doing parametric tests, you are wrong. But for parametric test, even if you are doing you are using non-parametric test, it will be correct. Okay? So if there, yes, so there probably my answer would be you go to non-parametric test. Yes. Now the second question, is there difference between the 2 groups which are paired? So what was the difference between this and previous? Unpaired, this one is paired. What is that? Compare more set of observations or single, such as time series, time before and after, and crossover. Suppose, now I'll give you example. Suppose now there I had medicine A, medicine B. Now I want to see the effect of intraocular pressure of medicine A. Then what I will do, on this population I'll select the sample, there will be only one group, A, means only one set of people where I am going to give this medicine. I will record intraocular pressure before giving medicine, then I will record intraocular pressure after giving medicine, maybe 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever I decide. Okay, here what is happening, so same population or same group of subject, I am measuring all measurements. So even after medicine, the effect will be affected, the measurement will be affected by before measurement. Because if something is higher, the other one also will be affected. Something is lower before, it will be affected. So this is paired group, this is paired group. Clear? So if this type of study you are doing, then this table will be applicable. And then same thing, numerical, parametric, non-parametric. If it is parametric, 2 groups, paired t-test. If it is more than 2 groups, repeated measure ANOVA. If it is less non-parametric, 2 groups, manual Coxon test, more than group Feldman's test. And then similarly, post hoc analysis. If it is categorical, 2 McEnroe test. If more than 2, Cochrane Q test. Now here, what mistakes people commit? Earlier I told you about the comparing with more than 2 groups, A to B, B to C, A to C, which is wrong. Similarly, most of the people don't differentiate between t-test and unpaired t-test. So what they do, even if it is paired group, they do even if it is unpaired group, they do this t-test, and which they simply write t-test. So in paper, if you are reading a paper where it's written t-test was performed, you can ask question whether it was paired t-test done or unpaired t-test. Because the t-test, there is no term like t-test. It has to be either paired or unpaired t-test. Okay, so but then many places you will find this mistake, anomaly. So this is for the second type of question. The third type of question is the association between 2 variables that he was trying to explain, that if you are trying to compare the association, so in that case of the variables, then if it is numerical, it can be again numerical, categorical. That's why you must know what type of data you are dealing with. That's why I explained that in the beginning. Now both parametric, then Pearson's correlation coefficient, and this he said that if it can be from +1 to -1, 0 is no correlation and +1 is perfect correlation in the direct, means it's a direct correlation, and indirect correlation, inverse correlation, the minus, perfect, -1. If it is non-parametric, then this one. If categorical data 2 by 2, it's the risk ratio or odds ratio. And if it is more than that, chi-square for trend logistic regression. Now this one, I mean, I will not explain anything further because that is really not required for us. But here, now what mistakes again people do? Suppose you are comparing 2 measurements. This association doesn't mean causation or causality. If it is associated, doesn't mean it is A to B is associated. But it doesn't mean that A is causing B, okay, or affecting B. Now the second thing, that 2 measurements, suppose you want to compare a new instrument which has been introduced to the gold standard. Now in that gold standard, you cannot compare this, cannot find correlation coefficient, and if it is showing +1, then you say that this machine is validated against the gold standard. It is wrong. And since time doesn't permit, so I can't explain that in detail, but that is wrong. Now, if that type of situation is there, then this table will be applicable. Is there agreement between the assessments? And this is for screening test, diagnostic test, rater validation. So suppose there are 5 examiners and they are marking. If we have to find out that what is the correlation or what is the validation that each marking system is so accurate that it's really falling very accurate, and all are marking, all those people who are marking it is perfect. So this type of, these tests will be applicable. Or with a new machine which is introduced, you want to validate against the gold standard, then this will be. So numerical data, then intra-class correlation coefficient or blind alignment plot, which is a graphical method, and categorical data, this test. Okay. So, and the last one is the time difference or survival trend. Means this actually, the survival data, it came from the researches in cancer. That's why the nomenclature survival. But doesn't mean, because in cancer earlier, what was the test of quality of any particular medication or treatment? That 5-year survival, 3-year survival. Okay. But from there, now it can be used for anything. Suppose, I'll give you an example in glaucoma surgery. Suppose someone says, the end point you specify, that whenever I have done this surgery today, the bleb has, means what is the time that I want to event to occur when the bleb fails. Then you say you have done 50 cases, you say at the end of 6 months, so many failed, so this means that much event has occurred. At the end of 1 year, this much additional event has occurred. After 1.5 years, this much event has occurred, failure. So this data if you have, then you can have this type of test will be applicable. So if it is 2 groups, this test, if it is more than 2, this test, okay. And this, for anything, suppose the cataract surgery, suppose if you want to, you define that, say, capsular opacification, that what is the time period with this type of particular lens taking place, the capsular opacification. So this event, now this is actually just like in this it is, so not necessarily death, anything which you have specified. So what is the time period that you are, how many numbers you are getting from the total number? From 200, suppose you are trying to follow up 200, then every 3 months you want to see, then every 3 months how many develop, then again next 3 months how much, next 3 months how, then this graph you can draw and this analysis. So with this, I think probably it will be, so I'll just distribute that. Statistics is the only science where different conclusion can be drawn by different statisticians using the same set of data. So that's why it is important, and triple blind, they are also blinded that which group is which. Now there's just a small, what do I see in statistics in submitted papers? One is in material method, whether sample size calculation, whatever just now Jatendra Bali told you, basis must be given, means alpha error. How much alpha error you have taken into consideration? How much beta error? Beta error basically indirectly will tell you what is the power of your study. Usually 80% power, means 20% beta error is permitted maximum. So 80% power, it may be more, but more power you do, 90% sample will increase, 95% still it will increase. Then what is the clinically significant difference that you have taken into consideration? And standard deviation, what is the standard deviation of the measurement, which usually comes from the reported literature or from your pilot study, and then attrition rate. So these things you must mention that after calculation I have taken into consideration this much attrition rate, and this is, so that the reader should know exactly what you have done. Then which statistical test has been performed or you have planned to do, this you must write in material method, and but it must be decided beforehand, a priori, not based on the type of data and type of question that you are asking. And if the justification and description of unusual tests, suppose Santan Gopal wants to do some absolutely different test, then it has to be decided before, and you must give reasoning for that why have you chosen that particular test, and also name of the software and version. The summary of data, that again he said that because you cannot produce complete raw data, because then it will take a lot of space which you don't have. So central tendency, which depends on what type of data you have, mean and median and spread. And then you have to also say the spread. Spread is the either standard deviation, range and interquartile range. But just remember that it doesn't mean that, if you are giving median, along with that you cannot give a standard deviation, because with median you have to give range or interquartile range. If you are giving mean, a standard deviation must be given. Because one author, I remember that the data had given median and the standard deviation as spread. I just asked that this is wrong, please give me along with this you give me the range. Then what answer I got, that no, because the spread was very large, that's why I have given standard deviation. I said that is the reason precisely that why the reader should know that what is your spread, what type of data set is that. So with that summary of data, they will have mental picture that what type of data you are dealing with. Then appropriate statistical test has been done or not, and inference is correctly drawn or not. Because if you do wrong test and do, like as I told you, that if you do that Pearson's correlation coefficient and then they say that this instrument is validated, is wrong. And this, because time, I think I'll give time to others also, but then there are 10 ways to cheat on a statistical test when writing up results. So I definitely try to find out all these things, that whether it's really, authors have not done this type of cheating. So this I am telling you, means this I have put up this, is not that you should cheat like this, but if someone is doing it, then how to pick it up. Okay, so you want me to read or I can bypass this, because, okay, the 10 I'll just read. Throw all your data set into computer and report as significant any relevant where p-value is less. Means, because if you put it on, say, software, whatever SSPP or whatever SSPP, everything, if you put that and perform all tests, Some tests will definitely show p-value less than 0.05. Then you report, I did this test and this is significant, if you want to prove that. If baseline differences between the groups favor the intervention group, remember not to adjust for them. Because always you must be seeing that is the data, first paragraph of the result, it will show that this, and both the groups matched significance, they matched in different whatever thing. Because if this is not matching, then you have to make adjustment. If it is, say, affecting your result and not what you want to, then don't adjust. So this is again wrong. Do not test data to see if they are normally distributed, they are parametric or not. Okay? Because then you might get stuck up with non-parametric test, because your test, as Santan was asking, that will be non-parametric group. But then you will do the parametric test, which is wrong. Ignore all withdrawals, dropout. Now again that question, that if say withdrawal and dropouts, if it's affecting your result, then ignore that. But if it is not affecting, but ideally it should be all, it should be analyzed in both ways. One is without the dropout and then with all dropouts and everything. So that intention to treat analysis also should be mentioned. Always assume that you can plot this again, that anything you do that, means association between the two things, draw this plot, and R value, if it is getting very significant, correlation, then you say that A is causing B, which is again wrong. It is not causation. If outliers point that a lie, means if there are some outliers and messing up your calculation, then just rub them out. And don't show that this was the outlier, but ultimately you should be truthful enough to produce all your data. If the confidence interval of your result overlaps 0, because this again I think needs some explanation, but confidence interval 95 or 99%, whatever is there, if it includes 0, means it's no effect, means both ways it can go, so it has got no value. If the difference between two groups becomes significant, suppose you are trying for a study, means it's an aimed study in the beginning for 6 months, but then at 4 months you see that now this group which I want to be significant is showing better results, so I stop this study over here and produce and publish results only of 4 months, and then ignore about the 6 months. Or up 6 months is not showing your result, then continue the study for another 3 months. If it is showing some significance, then you publish that. This is also wrong. And this is a very good example. Suppose that two people say that, okay, I am tossing the coin and I will win more than, say, I will win this much number or this much percentage. But then you decide I'll toss 100 coins, 100 times. Not so, suppose 100 times means you have not won and you are really very strong, like Dr. K.K. Mehta. Then we say, no, I will continue it. No, you cannot stop here. I will continue. Then you go on continuing till you attain your desired result, and they say, now I have won, and you go. So this should not happen. If your result prove interesting, ask the computer to go back, uninteresting, computer to go back and see if any particular subgroup behave differently. You might find that your intervention worked after all in Chinese women aged 52 to 61. Say it doesn't work anywhere else. But in Chinese women aged between 52 to 61, it is effective. But it is not effective in India, not effective others. So those, if analyzing your data the way you plan to does not give the result you wanted, run the figures throughout selection of other tests. Means if it's not showing, then do some other tests and then report that they are wrong. And if you want to really know about the basics of, means the same thing talk which I gave just now about a statistical test, there is a small 2-page editorial. This is free online, so you can read that. This will give you a very good concept. And I'm really acknowledgement for these people with whose help I have learned some statistics. And I'm sure if the ophthalmologist can learn, if clinician can learn, whatever I have learned is very simple to understand. So I am not talking something very complex. And if you want to attend, again there will be 3 days course in the month of May. So if someone really wants to know something much more in depth, most welcome to attend that. Thank you very much.